In a tweet, the President of the Republic, Abdelmajid Tebboune, hailed the role played by former stars of the national football team abroad, who took part in a gala game organized by the October 17, 1961 associative movement in the French city Nanterre, as part of the festivities marking the anniversary of the October 17, 1961 massacres. Representing the President of the Republic, Prime Minister, Finance Minister Ayman bin Abdulrahman participated on Monday in the proceedings of the Green Middle East Initiative Summit held in the Saudi capital, Riyadh. In a keynote speech, the Premier stressed that Algeria calls for addressing climate issues by focusing on the commitment of developed countries to assume their historical responsibility. Ayman bin Abdulrahman added that the situation requires everyone to find practical solutions and confront the risks that threaten the world, especially those arising as a result of compromising the ecological balance due to the unfair and irrational exploitation of natural resources in an unequal economic race. The importance that Algeria attaches to the green economy under the leadership of the President of the Republic has been embodied through the Constitution and devotion of the environment, sustainable development, and the preservation of natural resources. We must organize our efforts to work on this summit in the hope that the joint recommendations that will be issued from it will be meaningful and effective in a way that can be generalized to the entire region, making it a reference in the proceedings of the G20 summit and the United Nations 26th Climate Change Conference in November. In this context, Algeria reiterates its commitment to combating climate change and playing an active role in this field, particularly through its National Climate Plan, considered a practical tool for implementing the 10-year national policy to combat climate change.
At the end of his visit to Saudi Arabia, Ayman bin Abdulrahman indicated to the press that Algeria is for protecting the environment on the basis of its past experiences, notably the Green Belt. In this connection, he called for stepping up efforts to preserve the environment and face the climate change now hitting the international community, pointing out that the most polluted countries have to assume their responsibilities to protect the environment and spearhead a sustainable development, notably in the Middle East region where a Green Promising initiative is already underway.
Ayman bin Abdulrahman was received by the Saudi Crown Prince, Chairman of the Council of Ministers, Minister of Defense, Prince Mohammed bin Salman bin Abdulaziz Al Saud. In a speech delivered at the opening of the summit, the Prime Minister stressed that this event is being held in a special context dictated by the COVID-19 pandemic and added to a range of issues preoccupying both the governments and peoples. On the sidelines of the summit, Prime Minister, Finance Minister also held talks in Riyadh with his Tunisian counterpart Najla Bouden. This meeting allowed the two sides to emphasize the excellent bilateral relations uniting the two countries, as well as the common will of both governments to work together to strengthen and diversify Algerian-Tunisian cooperation.
The Minister of Foreign Affairs and National Community settled abroad, Ramtan Al-Amamra, discussed with his Rwandan counterpart, Vincent Biruta, ways and means to strengthen bilateral cooperation. That was shortly before the start of the proceedings of the ministerial meeting of the African Union and the European Union. During this meeting, which was attended by delegations from both countries, the two officials discussed ways to strengthen bilateral cooperation between Algeria and Rwanda. Ramtan Al-Amamra also met with his Central African counterpart, Sylvie Baipo-Teman. The two sides discussed bilateral relations and reviewed the situation in the African continent, in addition to partnership prospects between the African and the European Unions.
Under the motto "Enough with Proxy Wars," a debate was held at the National People's Assembly or Lower House of Parliament. MPs representing the Algerian nationals abroad as well as local elected ones rejected the suspicious French parliamentary practices and the unaccepted statements made by the French President Emmanuel Macron. MPs and representatives of the parliamentary groups considered the French move as an interference in Algeria's domestic affairs. The Vice President of the National People's Assembly, Monder Boudin, blamed the French members of the parliament for forgetting the fact that Algeria is an independent state operating in line with its constitution. At the end of this meeting, the Speaker of the National Popular Assembly, Brahim Boughali, received the participants to announce the resolutions denouncing these attempts of meddling in Algeria's internal affairs.
The Interior Minister Canal reiterated on Monday Algeria's full support to the state of Niger in the fields of training and modernization of the administration and local development. He also voiced Algeria's total readiness to put its experience at the disposal of this neighboring country. He chaired the opening ceremony of the 7th session of the Algerian-Nigerian Joint Border Committee in the presence of his Nigerian counterpart, Al-Kash al-Hada, with whom he had a face-to-face meeting.
Algeria expressed its deep concern about the worsening situation in the Republic of Sudan and insisted on the imperative to show a great sense of responsibility and self-control so as to avoid undermining progress made during the transitional period. Algeria also called on the civil and military parties to resume talks in order to put an end to this crisis and face the security and political challenges facing the country during this crucial stage.
Zmala is a story of a capital unlike the others. Zmala is a mobile capital which can move easily in order to fool the French colonizers and their strategy to curb Emir Abd al-Qadir's attacks. In 1835, the governor of Oran province attacked Mascara province. Emir Abd al-Qadir ordered all the inhabitants to leave the city as soon as he had the idea of building a mobile capital situated between Mascara and Tirnif. The emir wanted to avoid the attacks of the French army. It's truly a heritage that must be preserved. The Zmala was a group of wooden towns in the shape of a circle. It was surrounded by walls. The rest of these walls were classified as a national heritage that deserves more attention by the local authorities, which inaugurated a library full of books telling more stories about a matchless Algerian leader.